When the original Spider-Man film web-slinged into the silver screen in 2002, audiences were instantly captivated by the friendly neighborhood webhead. Directed by the legendary Sam Raimi, the Marvel comic book adaptation starred Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, Willem Dafoe, and James Franco, complete with a triumphant theme by Danny Elfman. Upon release, the film received critical acclaim and was the very first film to reach $100 million in a single weekend. Take that, X-Men. After its massive blockbuster success as sequel, Spider-Man 2 was fast-tracked and released 2 years later. You might think that an accelerated timeline would spell trouble for the quality of the film, but you'd be dead wrong. Raimi and the main cast had returned for the sequel with the addition of Alfred, Molina, and Dylan Baker. While most sequels seem to suffer from diminishing returns, Spider-Man 2 not only deepened the audience's love for this character, but discussions of it being a superior film to the original quickly arose and still spark debate to this day. The first two entries in the Spider-Man franchise are so revered, we even saw the return of many fan favorites in the recent Spider-Man No Way Home starring Tom Holland alongside, spoiler alert, Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Well, pretty much everyone will agree that both films are better than the much maligned third chapter. Although Spider-Man 3 still makes for a great drinking game, we're focused on the first two to see which superhero film will swing off with the girl and which will get pierced by its own blade. There's only one way to find out. Face off.
Disclaimer. No actual science was used to determine the outcome of Face Off. Your results may vary. Please do not consume Face Off if you are allergic to conjecture, opinion, or general nonsense.
Round 1. Spidey Story. These films are nothing without their amazing stories. This is particularly why Spider-Man 3 isn't held in the highest of regards when compared to 1 and 2. The first film operates as Spider-Man's origin story. After being bitten by a genetically altered spider, geeky teenage outcast Peter Parker develops a spider-like superhuman ability and adapts a masked superhero identity to fight crime in New York City, which is being terrorized by the sinister Green Goblin. It's a thrilling start to a sprawling franchise and signals spectacular things to come. Set 2 years after the events of the first installment, the second film focuses on Peter trying to balance his life as Spider-Man while dealing with an existential crisis between his dual identities that appear to be stripping him of his Spidey powers. At the same time, Peter struggles to thwart Doc Ock, his former mentor, who will stop at nothing to recreate his extremely risky energy experiment. Even though Peter tries to hang up the mantle as Spider-Man, he ultimately makes the hard choice and embraces his alter ego as New York's defender. This film was not only a visual marvel, but its emotional weight and humanistic undercurrent gives it the edge in this round. Verdict: Spider-Man 2.
Oh, Rosie, I love this boy.
Round 2, Peter Parker. Now, before we get to Spider-Man, we have to start with Peter Parker. In the first installment, we meet Peter as an awkward teen in high school. Tobey Maguire does a tremendous job at getting us to care about this nerd and his sticky situation. Super smart but socially inept and hopelessly in love with the girl next door, Peter's life is forever changed when he gains spider-like powers, including super strength, enhanced reflexes, a spider sense, the ability to climb walls, and shoot spider webs. The scene where Peter's feeling the pure joy of trying out his Spidey powers for the first time is exhilarating to watch. However, after making some poor choices that result in the tragic death of his Uncle Ben, the closest thing he has to a father figure, Peter decides to use his newfound abilities for the greater good and fights crime as Spider-Man. Does that mean if Uncle Ben doesn't die, Parker just ends up becoming a pro wrestling star? The second film feels like a natural progression for the character, especially since Tobey can only pass for a high schooler for so long. Peter has so much more to balance in this storyline: work, relationships, his studies, and his Spidey shit. Juggling these separate lives causes Peter to briefly give up his responsibilities as a superhero due to a quarter-life crisis. After reaching his breaking point, Peter gets his life back on track, but it seems that his true destiny is always calling. By the end, Peter accepts his responsibility and duties and reclaims the title of Spider-Man. Both of Peter's arcs are very well done, but Spider-Man 2 gives audiences a little more to chew on. Verdict: Spider-Man 2.
Pizza time.
Round 3, Rogues Gallery. Next to Batman, Spider-Man has the largest array of colorful villains and scum that he crosses paths with time and time again. The first film sees Spidey square off against his archenemy, the Green Goblin, aka Norman Osborn. Osborn starts off as the CEO of Oscorp and a man of science who tests an unstable strength serum on himself and develops a crazy, malevolent alternate personality. By using advanced Oscorp armor and equipment such as weaponized glider and pumpkin-shaped explosives, he becomes a costumed supervillain and sets out to rule the city. After Spider-Man refuses to join him, Norman sets out to get back at him. Funny enough, Norman really takes a liking to Peter and sees himself as a father figure to the boy while ignoring his own son, Harry, played by James Franco. Probably for the best, Norm.
I think he wants to adopt you.
There's also secondary antagonists such as Flash Thompson, Parker's high school bully and rival, portrayed by Joe Manganiello. And let's not forget the carjacker who killed Uncle Ben and sets Parker's entire life in a new direction. Yes, we remember the retcon in Spider-Man 3, but the less said about that, the better. The second entry introduces Dr. Otto Octavius, Peter's mentor. Dr. Octavius is a kind, brilliant man who has high aspirations to revolutionize energy as we know it.
The power of the sun in the palm of my hand.
Tragically, his dangerous experiment goes awry, kills his wife, leaves him neurologically fused to mechanical tentacles that warp his mind. With nothing left and unhinged, Otto sets out to redo his experiment at any cost, even if it means almost causing a train wreck and threatening the entire city. Speaking of that action set piece where Spider-Man fights Doc Ock on top of the train, it truly is the standout sequence of the entire film, and the visual effects hold up to this day. Harry Osborn also functions as a secondary antagonist at odds with Pete over his perceived allegiance to Spider-Man and plagued by visions of his dead father, played again by an always welcome Willem Dafoe. Eventually, Harry discovers Peter's true identity, setting him up to be the big bad of Spider-Man 3. While we love Alfred Molina's take on Doc Ock, Dafoe just crafted such a definitive take on the Green Menace, even with a somewhat silly costume. Plus, we kinda saw what would happen if the two squared off. This may be controversial, but we're going with Spider-Man.
You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
Disagree? Leave a comment below to tell us why, and take a moment to subscribe to our channel while you're at it. Round 4, Mary Jane. Everyone knows that the apple of Peter's eye is the beautiful Mary Jane Watson. In the first chapter, MJ is the girl next door and has been Peter's love interest ever since he was 6 years old. Mary Jane's backstory is that she has an abusive father and aspires to become an actress. In order to make ends meet, she gets a job as a server at a diner, which she hides from her boyfriend, Harry.
Don't tell Harry.
Wait, Harry as in Pete's best friend? Come on, Harry. Not cool, man. You know, Pete's been in love with her since the 4th grade. Don't worry, though. By the end, she's fully head over heels for Peter and his alter ego after he saves her again and again and again. However, Peter makes the hard choice and masks his true feelings in order to protect her from his enemies. In the sequel, after getting her heart broken by Peter, MJ is dating his boss's son, John Jameson, of all people. Come on, Mary Jane, first Pete's best friend and now his boss's kid. My man Peter deserves better. Okay, we're only half kidding since MJ isn't privy to Peter's secret identity, so she and everyone else assumes he's unreliable, flaky, and
Brilliant but lazy.
it stands to reason that she wouldn't wait around forever for Pete. By the end, after learning the truth about Spider-Man, Mary Jane abandons her fiancé at the altar and runs to Peter's apartment in her wedding dress and all to assert that she is prepared to face whatever risks their relationship may bring as a result of his alter ego. Besides, MJ still manages to find herself in harm's way again and again, and she's technically not even dating Peter. At that point, you might as well say, screw it. Well, Spider-Man features that steamy upside-down kiss in the rain between the two lovebirds. Spider-Man 2 really puts their relationship to the test. Verdict? Spider-Man 2. Round 5, supporting cast. Each film has a solid bench of supporting players that add so much to the world and story at large. The first film is the only time we see Aunt May and Uncle Ben together, played by Rosemary Harris and Cliff Robertson, respectively. Robertson has the honor of delivering the line,
Teenagers.
Raging hormones, they never change.
Note.
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yes, that one. The original film also established the perfectly cast J.K. Simmons in the role of J. Jonah Jameson.
Crap, mega crap. I'll give you $200 for all of them.
The grouchy publisher of the Daily Bugle who questions if Spider-Man is a criminal, but we see how deep down he's actually a good guy when he lies to the Green Goblin to protect Peter.
Who's the photographer who takes the pictures of Spider-Man?
I don't know who he is. His stuff comes in the mail.
You're lying!
I swear.
Elizabeth Banks, Bill Nunn, and Ted Raimi, yes, Sam's baby bro, play the indelible Daily Bugle employees. Hell, even Macho Man Randy Savage shows up as Bonesaw McGraw, Parker's cage match opponent, along with future Oscar winner Octavia Spencer as a staff member at the wrestling match. In the sequel, Rosemary Harris receives an expanded role and even gets to save Spider-Man's ass for a change.
We sure showed him.
What do you mean, we?
Oh.
J. Jonah and the Bugle staff return somehow funnier than the first film. There's also Danielle Gillis, who plays Jameson's son, an astronaut and MJ's fiancé, but he doesn't really make much of an impression. Donna Murphy has a small role as Rosie Octavius, Otto's lovely wife and assistant. Dylan Baker shows up as Dr. Kurt Connors, one of Peter's college professors and colleague of Octavius. Obviously, they were trying to set up his character to become the Lizard in the future installment, but unfortunately, that never came to fruition. We meet Peter's hilarious landlord, Mr. Ditkovich, and his daughter Ursula. Lastly, Joel McHale pops up as an asshole bank teller. Emily Deschanel appears as a receptionist, and director John Landis has a cameo as one of the surgeons who operates on Doc Ock. In each film, Stan Lee makes a brief appearance as a guy saving a young girl from falling debris during the battle between Spider-Man and the Green Goblin, and then as a guy saving a young woman from falling debris during the fight between Spidey and Doc Ock. This round's a close one, but we gotta give it to the OG.
You don't trust anybody, that's your problem.
I trust my barber.
Round 6, Bruce Campbell. Of course, it wouldn't be a Raimi film without his Evil Dead muse making an appearance, Bruce Campbell. The actor appears in basically every one of Raimi's productions, and the Spider-Man movies are no exception. In the first film, Bruce Campbell, as the ring announcer at the wrestling ring Peter takes part in to earn money to buy a car to impress Mary Jane. It's a loud, obnoxious, but nothing short of a memorable role that suits Bruce perfectly. In Spider-Man 2, Campbell appears again in a much more subdued role as an usher who refuses to let Peter into Mary Jane's show because he's arrived late. It's an amusing cameo, but not as flashy as Bruce's first outing in this franchise. Both appearances are groovy, but since Bruce's wrestling announcer is the man who gifts the wall crawler moniker, we gotta go with Spider-Man!
My name's the Human Spider.
I don't care, get out there.
No, he got my name wrong.
Get
you gotta
out
tell
there,
him.
you moron.
Round 7, Sam Raimi-ness. Before Sam Raimi ventured into comic book territory, the filmmaker made a name for himself with the wildly gory and awfully hilarious Evil Dead series. So it might have been strange at the time when he was announced as the guy to bring Spidey to the big screen. Thankfully, he nailed pretty much everything right out of the gate with the first one, from swirling cinematography of the Spider Cam to the glorious montage of Spider-Man's early career heroics and the vibrant look and transitions that brought a comic book to life. Just look at the scene where Norman talks with the Goblin. Dafoe's performance pairs expertly with Raimi's direction as the split personalities have a natural conversation all in camera. Or take the hard-hitting and brutally visceral climactic fight between Spider-Man and the Green Goblin in the third act. Raimi more than proved why he was the best man for the job. I mean, in the wrong hands, this could have been a bad Power Rangers movie, akin to Batman and Robin.
I freeze. I'm Batman.
In the second film, Raimi harkens back to his horror roots with that terrifying hospital scene depicting Doc Ock's tentacles massacring the entire surgery team. Don't forget that incredible montage where Peter enjoys life as an average Joe and ignores his true calling as a superhero. As we've mentioned before, that fight leading up to the runaway train sequence is an absolute highlight. There's also the classic Raimi humor and charm coursing throughout this picture, and in both films, the director is able to effortlessly juggle varying tones and storylines, but it's the second one that sees him shift the direction into a higher gear. Verdict: Spider-Man 2. Winner: Spider-Man 2. Well, this was a fierce battle, but Spider-Man 2 is a film that truly stands the test of time and holds up to this day. Sure, that also applies to Raimi's original Spider-Man film, but there's a reason Spider-Man 2 is regarded as the ultimate superhero movie. While the first Spider-Man is credited for redefining the modern superhero genre, it's the sequel that truly elevated the genre and provided a blueprint for future movies in that space. And if you're watching this around Thanksgiving, well, happy Turkey Day, because we here at JoBlo consider 2002's Spider-Man to be a Thanksgiving film, right up there with Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. But don't let us have the final word. Tell us in the comments which Sam Raimi Spidey flick is your pick, Spider-Man or Spider-Man 2. And as always, thanks for watching, true believers.